Hello everyone, my name is Venki Rao and I'm the North American Predictive Analytics segment leader at IBM. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to you today. I'm really excited to share Watson Analytics with all of you because it is a truly revolutionary offering from IBM. Why is it revolutionary? To understand that, let us look at the existing landscape of analytics tools available to business analysts. On the lower end of the complexity continuum, you have Microsoft Excel and other business intelligence tools that let you visualize your work and essentially let you describe the data that you have. And then, to make predictions, you have more advanced tools. Now, most business users are not comfortable with data mining or statistics, so they just avoid using more sophisticated tools and pass off seemingly complicated questions to data scientists. And for the less complicated questions, they use the visualization tools. The problem with visualization tools, however, is that an analyst bias creeps into the picture. Anyone who has seen a political debate knows that data can be slanted to suit the conclusions that you want to draw. Whether we know it or not, we are all guilty of this. I know this was certainly true for me when I was an analyst. So IBM wanted to change all of this. We wanted to provide all users a product that is so easy to use and yet so powerful that from an exploration standpoint, it would remove all biases, and from a predictive standpoint, it would help any novice make predictions. And because we wanted to make this accessible to all, we made it available for free. The product is Watson Analytics, and I will now demonstrate it to you. So let us think of a day in the life of an analyst. My manager sends me a file, and she says she wants me to answer some questions within the next 10 minutes for a meeting that she has to attend. Chop chop, she says. I'm willing to bet that most of you have been in this situation. I know I have. So I look at the Excel file and I see that it is a list of customers with their ages, incomes, and a list of products that they have. Next, I look at the questions that she wants me to answer. I feel that questions 1 to 3 are fairly straightforward, but 4 and 5, well, not so much, especially since my manager wants the answers ASAP. So I know that since 4 and 5 will take me time, I would like to solve 1 to 3 really quickly. Like any proud denizen of the 21st century, I wish I could just Google the answers. Well, with Watson Analytics, you almost can. So let's see how this works. I first open up my web browser, but instead of typing google.com, I type in watsonanalytics.com. Just like Google or Gmail, this is available anytime, anywhere, and on any device for free. That's right, Watson Analytics is available for free. So I log in using my credentials and I reach the welcome screen. Once I'm on the welcome screen, I could play the video to learn more if I'd like, but at this time, I really need to get these answers to my manager. So I click the Add button to add the XLS file that my manager sent me. Just like adding an attachment to my email. Real easy. Now for the purposes of this demonstration, I've already added the file, so let's just go ahead and click on the file that I added. As soon as I click on the data set, it opens up a couple of options for me. I can either explore the data or I can make predictions off of that data. Since I remember that the first 3 questions that my manager asked me were exploration related, I'm going to go ahead and click on the exploration button. Let's take a quick look at the first question in the meantime. The first question that my manager wants to know the answer of is what the average income of our customers by age is. So if I go back to watsonanalytics.com, I see that as soon as it's uploaded the data into the system, it's also given me some starting points automatically, just based on the relevance, based on the data set that I provided to it. It thought some questions were relevant. So it's given me a number of starting points, the first one of which is what is the trend of income over age by gender. This seems almost exactly like the first question that I need to answer, So without giving it another thought, I click on this button. As soon as I click this button, Watson Analytics then displays a trend line for me, which shows me the trend of income over age and gender. Since my manager only wanted to know the trend of income over age, I simply go ahead and click on the X button here and remove gender from the mix. Watson Analytics quickly updates the chart for me, and now I have a trend line that I can share with my manager, which shows the trend of income over age for all of my customers. In order to continue with my analysis, I move on to a new page and I take a look at my questions again, and I see that the second question is what is the percentage of males versus females and how many of them have insurance. Let's see if we can knock both of these off in the same analysis. However, when I look at the starting points, it seems like none of these questions are directly covered in any of the starting points that Watson Analytics gives me. So I use the natural language capabilities of Watson Analytics and simply type in row by gender to see what Watson Analytics can give me. As soon as I hit the search button, it now gives me two new visuals that are extremely relevant for the task at hand. So I click on the first one, which says how does the number of rows compare by gender. And when I click this information, I can see that Watson Analytics has given me a bar chart which shows that there are 512 females and 488 males. It's an almost 50-50 split between males and females. Now I know that I also want to take a look at insurance, so I'm going to go ahead and add insurance in here. And now Watson Analytics has broken this up by gender and how many folks have insurance versus those that don't have insurance. Instead of looking at it like this, I could look at this as a stack chart. So it essentially breaks it up by gender, and it tells me that approximately 20% of females have insurance, whereas 80% do not. And on the male side, it says approximately 40% have insurance, whereas the rest of them do not. I could also look at this as a stack percentage chart, and this would now give me information in percentages. If I simply wanted to look at insurance without looking at the gender, I could cancel out gender here, and now this would just give me a graph, a percentage stack graph of all the folks that have insurance versus those that don't. So this shows me that approximately 70% of our customers do not have insurance, whereas 30% of them do. Now that we have answered the first three questions that my manager has, let's take a look at her last two questions. The last two questions are definitely more complicated. They're predictive in nature. She wants to know whom I need to target to sell debt funds and retirement products. So I need to use the same data set, except that instead of exploring the data, I now need to make predictions off of that data. This is exactly the type of question that I would previously have passed on to a data scientist. But today, since I have Watson Analytics to help me, I think I can take a crack at these two questions as well. So I go back to Watson Analytics and I exit my exploration screen and I enter my prediction screen. As soon as I enter my prediction screen, the first thing that I need to do is give my workbook a name. Since I want to make predictions on debt funds and retirement products, I call this DFRP, and I can then select my targets. I see that Watson Analytics has already identified a target for me. Since in this case this is not relevant, I'm simply going to go ahead and cancel that target, and instead I'm going to pick the two fields that I want to predict. The first one being retirement and the second one being debt funds. And then I go ahead and press the create workbook button. Easy as that. I just name my workbook, pick my targets and press the button. And as soon as I do that, what Watson Analytics is doing in the background is it's taking my data set, doing a quality audit on my data to make sure that the data is of a decent quality to be able to prepare a decent predictive model. And then it's actually building out not one, but two different predictive models that help me identify which of my customers is the right target for selling retirement products to, and which of my customers is the right target for selling debt funds to. And Watson Analytics is doing all of this in just a couple of minutes. Something that would have taken a data scientist a long time to prepare the data, use a predictive modeling tool or a data mining workbench and build out a model. Watson Analytics is doing that for me just by at the click of a button. And here we are. Watson Analytics has built two predictive models, one for debt fund and one for retirement. But before we start to explore these two, let's take a look at some of the work that Watson Analytics has done on the data itself. So when I click on the top left corner of the screen, I see a button called Field Properties. And when I click Field Properties, what Watson Analytics does is it gives me a visual representation of every single field in my data set. So I can go through all the fields in the Excel spreadsheet that I uploaded, and I can see, if I click on any field, I can see a visual graphical representation of what the field looks like. Watson Analytics also identifies what the role of those fields are. So in this case, since we're making predictions on debt fund and retirement fund, the role of both of those has been fixed at target, whereas the other fields are all input fields. I could also take a quick look at the quality of the data itself by looking at the data quality report by once again clicking on the top left corner of the screen. When I click on the data quality report, Watson Analytics provides me with information as to how good my data set was. Was it really worthwhile? Should I trust my predictions based on this data? And based on the report that Watson Analytics provides me, it seems that my average quality score of 81 is a pretty decent score, and I can see that most of the variables in my data set had a pretty high quality rating. So this is a fairly satisfying quality score. So now I have a much greater level of confidence in the quality of my predictive models. Without further delay, let's go ahead and explore our different predictive models. Let's start with the retirement products, and I'm going to click on the view button here to see my retirement products. The first thing that I can see on the left side of my screen is a scale that Watson Analytics provides for me, and it starts at easier to understand and it moves up to more predictive. So what does this mean? What this means is that on the lower end of the scale, Watson Analytics tries to draw one-to-one relationships between variables in my data set and the prediction that I want to make. So for instance, it says that gender is a good predictor of retirement funds, and it says that, you know, if I knew the gender of a certain person, my ability to predict whether or not they would buy a retirement product is very high. It's 71.3%. But beneath that, it says an even more interesting and accurate insight is the interaction between international buyer and gender. So what this is saying is that as I start to add more fields into my analysis, the quality of my predictive model gets better and better. And we can see that as I start to click on two fields, I can see now that my dart has moved a lot closer to the target. I started out with 71.3, and I can see now it's improved to 78.7. And then when I click on combination, I can see that this has improved further. This is the best predictive model that Watson Analytics has built for me, and it's saying that there are a number of fields involved in this predictive model, and if I take a combination of all of those fields, I get the ideal predictive model. Now, if as an analyst I take a look at this and I feel that I've been doing this for a very long time, and I've always felt that the account number of an individual usually plays a very important role in figuring out whether they are likely to buy a retirement fund or not. I could simply go ahead, click on account number, and drag it onto the chart here. And if Watson Analytics agrees with me, it's going to put that information on the chart. But in this case, Watson Analytics says, hey, Venki Rao, you really don't know what you're talking about, and the account number field is not relevant at all, so it moves it to the side. Now that we've understood how this scale over here works, let's explore some of the visuals that Watson Analytics has provided for me to interpret the results of my model. I can click on this information, and the first tab that I click on is the Predictor Importance tab. And what the Predictor Importance tab does for me is it gives me a word cloud of all the different variables in my data set that influence whether or not someone is likely to buy a retirement product from us. So I can see that CLTV is a very important variable. I can also tell the international buyer is a very important variable. The income level of a person, whether they have insurance or not, whether they also subscribe to our online services or not. These 6 items are all really important, and the larger an item has been depicted in my visual, the more important it is. Now, this is all that this is telling me is what the important predictors are, but how do they really relate to whether or not someone's likely to buy a retirement product? For that, let's take a look at the top decision rules. As soon as I click the top decision rules tab, it says that it gives me the top 5 decision rules resulting in highest percentages of falls. Well, I want to figure out the true percentages. I want to find out who's likely to buy retirement product, not fall. So I click on true, and this is now telling me that the folks that have an international buyer and have a CLTV in addition to 33.19 and an income level greater than 22,200 are the ones that are most likely to buy retirement products from us. We can take a look at this in a decision tree as well. And the decision tree here takes all of my records, breaks it down into those that have the international buyer and those that don't. If I ignore the ones that don't have the international buyer, since there's very few of them that buy retirement products, I then break down this node by CLTV value. And once again here I can see that where the CLTV value exceeds 33.19 and the income exceeds 22,200, a majority of the people buy retirement products from us. So this is the target. These are the folks that I should be looking at. But how do I convert this into a business rule that I can then operationalize? In order to do that, I simply click on the decision table, and when I click on the true column here, Watson Analytics generates a business rule for me, and it tells me whom I should be targeting from a marketing campaign standpoint. It identifies those that were true for international buyer, that had a CLTV greater than 33.19%, and had income in excess of 22,200. I could then use this business rule and put this into a campaign management system or some sort of a decision management tool that would drive my decisions and drive my marketing campaigns to target only those folks that meet these criteria because they're most likely to buy retirement products. I could do the exact same kind of analysis for debt funds as well. If I clicked on debt funds, I could go through the same kind of analysis to identify what the combination was. And once again, if I clicked on this and I clicked on my decision table, I could go back to my manager and give her a decision rule for the folks that we should target from a debt fund standpoint as well. So using a really simple, intuitive interface, I can answer my manager's questions, not just from a descriptive standpoint, but also from a predictive standpoint. And since this is available everywhere and for free, more than 16,000 people have been using this to do all sorts of analysis. It is still in beta, so I would encourage all of you to go to watsonanalytics.com and sign up for it. That brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your time and have a great day.